In this video, I'll be showing you how to change the wiring harness for a license plate light on a second gen Dodge Ram. Now that should be 94 through 01 for any 1500s, and in this case a 94 through 02 because this is a 2500. The heavy duty body styles didn't change until 2003. Okay, so the reason I'm actually changing mine, if you can see here, I'll put the light on it, is over time, depending on weather conditions, this is where it goes into. The rubber can come brittle and crack. So that's what happened to mine. I guess you could glue them on, but that's a little cheesy for my taste. I'm just going to replace them. Both of mine actually, if you look at the other one right there, both of mine became brittle and cracked. They could catch on stuff, you know, on the road and rip off as well. If you take your truck off-roading, it's a possibility, but I'm just going to be replacing both because it looks a little weird when I drive at night, and these are lit up under here, but my license plate isn't lit up. So I'll show you the steps on how to replace that. Okay, so it's starting to get dark, so if I'm talking fast you can't really see anything, I'm sorry. So like I said earlier, I'm going to be changing the wiring harness. So the parts you're going to need for that is this guy. I don't know why the bag's so big, but it's just this wire right here, and it's part number 05179988AB, and that's the MOPAR genuine MOPAR part. I got them off of Amazon for like 12 bucks, so I think they're a little cheaper on if you went aftermarket, but some people said connector wasn't right and they had to splice the wires, or not everything lined up. So this part's cheap enough, and you know, this truck it's a Cummins, so it's going to hold its value. It's worth to put the original Mopar parts in it. Obviously some parts from Mopar aren't better. Like when I was doing all my steering, I went all the Moog tie rods because they're heavier duty, Moog track bar. But that's kind of one of those things. There's no aftermarket for this that's a better performance one. So I just got the OEM aftermarket, not aftermarket, OE. So that's the wiring harness you're going to need for that. If you're going to change out the bulbs, which I recommend, since you know you don't have to do this all the time, it's going to be bulbs 168. This is a 168 LL bulb, which means long life. So you might as well, I mean, they're literally, I don't even know if they make regular 168s that aren't long life. They're cheap, so I wouldn't cheap out on it. What you're going to need to remove the casing, basically the only tool you really need for the install is this. It's a Torx T15. This is a screwdriver version. It also has a socket version, so you could use it on a socket wrench with a ratchet. I recommend having just a small flathead screwdriver that helps you pry the housing out, helps you scrape off some of that stuff that's stuck on, and it helps you disconnect the connector if something's stuck. And then also I recommend when you do any type of electrical connections, especially because these are in the elements, they're under the truck, they're getting all the overspray from the rain and the road, dielectric grease this socket end, grease where it goes into, and then you're going to grease over here when you put the bulb in. So those are really the tools you're going to need. And then obviously gloves, you know, it gets dirty, and I think I'm probably going to end up using like Windex and paper towel just to clean the lens, because I'm sure it's dirty. But other than that, that's all you're really going to need. I mean, really all you really need is this. But you should have a flathead screwdriver in your house if you're going to be attempting this job, which is really easy. So we'll go get started. Okay, so the first step is going to be to remove this outer housing. Now this part you're going to want to keep, and you're going to want to keep the bolts. It is not replaced by the new wiring harness. You could buy separate ones of these, but I don't plan on doing that because they look perfectly fine. This is a T15 Torx. You can either use a screwdriver style like this, or you can use a socket style like this on a ratchet. So Just lefty loosey, righty tighty, nothing crazy here. And just like I said earlier, make sure you keep these 2 screws and light cap, because you're going to want to reuse them on the new one. And then once you get those off, you're going to take a small flat blade right in the crack and just peel it off. And you can see in here a bunch of crap, and you can see how I can just stick my finger in there because the harness ripped off. And that's what we're replacing. So once you have that off, you can actually take your flat blade again and get into the crack here, and you're going to peel this thing off. If you want, kind of scrape away at anything else that's in there. Looks like a old rubber gasket. You know, nothing crazy, just pick it off. And if you want to go real crazy, I guess grab like a paper towel and some type of basic cleaner and just scrub it out. But I'm not going to get that crazy. What I am going to do though, inside this housing, since the back end wasn't sealed up, you can see there's a lot of road grime and dirt. So once I replace it, it won't be emitting the light as well. So I'm just going to spray a little bit in there, wipe it out dry, and then I'm going to reinstall. Okay, so I just cleaned off the lens. As you can see, you can actually see my finger through it now, whereas before it was just all, you know, it was all dirt. So definitely worth cleaning out. You know, you probably won't have this off for another couple of years. Then you're going to take the new part. If you can see here, the holes are slightly off center. You want them to be closer to the license plate. So if you had it this way, they're slightly to the left. That'd be the proper placement if you were replacing the passenger side one. But since we're doing the driver side one, rotate it over, and then you're going to start by feeding this through. Now it might just take a little bit of convincing, but that's the way it goes in. And don't forget that one end, the plastic piece should squish down. So force that through. Don't forget screws on this side. And now would be a good time to put your bulb in. I didn't buy new bulbs yet. I don't want to reuse the old ones. So we're gonna. Okay, so I couldn't make a video and be that lazy with you guys. So I actually went to the store, as you'll see in the parts video, and actually got the bulb needed. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. It should be super obvious, but go ahead, take the dielectric grease and shoot a little bit in there. You'll want that part coated up too, and you're just going to take the bulb, insert it into the connector. You'll feel it kind of positively click in, and to test that it's working, just go up front, turn your headlights on. I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning. Make sure your headlights are off. You don't want to zap yourself when you're taking off the connectors and doing the bulb. Alright, so all I did was I turned the parking lights on, and obviously lit right up. So I know the connector under the truck worked, and I know the bulb is working on this end. So go ahead, put the casing back on. Here's a way to illustrate it. So you see here how the light's going this way. It only goes on the one way. If you put it on the other way, the light's gonna be shining over here, and that just defeated the purpose of this whole job. So I'm just gonna go do the rest of this tightening up off camera, since I already showed you how to do it the other way. So you're gonna put it there, holes line up. Just make sure the opening is closer to the plate, because if you don't, then the light's going to shine out this way, not towards your plate. Alright, so what we'll do, we'll take one of the Torx screws, attach it to the screwdriver, put it through the lens hole, and then we'll mount it on here and start the top one. Once you can feel it starting to get in there, just wait a bit, grab the second one. And what you're actually going to do is make sure everything squishes in so it's flush with the plastic. So it might take a little bit of convincing. Actually, this one really doesn't want to go in. But I think if we just start the bottom one and tighten it down, it'll work its way in. So I grab the bottom one. Starting that through. And you just gotta find the hole. And I'll tighten the top. You can see there's like a little bit of the white piece sticking out, so I just took the flat blade, pushed it back in, and now tighten the screws all the way. You can see it's totally flush. So now we'll go onto the other side and deal with the connector. Okay, so now we're under the truck, and you can see the driver's side, the original one's right here. This is the new one sticking through. So you want to come up here to where it meets with the other connector, and really it's pretty simple. But essentially, if you look at this one, see there's this little plastic piece here. You just have to lift up on that to pull the connector out. So it might help you to remove your spare tire. I'm not sure what access is like on here with a spare tire. I don't have a spare tire, so I don't have to really worry about that. But so all you're going to do is come over here, grab up on the plastic, and just wiggle it out. It's that easy. You might, if it's really seized up, you might need a flat blade just to pry up on it, but you shouldn't have to. And then just put this one back on in the reverse. So this piece here, if you feel the connector, you should feel a little block. So right here, there's a little tab that this catches on. So you're going to want to put that in the reverse. Alright, and I'm actually going to put some electrical grease on here so it doesn't get seized up or corroded in the future. Okay, so you see I got my dielectric grease. Basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot some into the opening, coat that a little bit, and then I'm just going to coat this end just a little bit, and it's just going to help keep moisture out. For something like this kind of electrical connector where it's always outside, it's always behind the rear tires, it's always getting splashed on, you know, it's always a good idea to just coat it up. And you know, the stuff's made for it, so it's not going to short it out or anything. It can only help. So that's basically it. You know, I only did one side. I'll do the other side off camera because it's essentially the same thing. Don't forget to, if you didn't buy a new bulb, to buy a bulb and put it in there. I'll have the information on the bulb in the parts needed category.